Arc fault circuit interrupter, or AFCI, breakers are required in specific areas of buildings to provide enhanced protection against electrical fires. The determination of whether AFCI breakers are required in hotel or motel units depends on whether the units are classified as dwelling units according to the electrical code. Units with kitchenettes are considered dwelling units because they have permanent provisions for cooking. In these units, AFCI breakers are required for bedrooms. The bedrooms in these units are common rooms within the dwelling units and thus require AFCI protection. Units with bathrooms and bedrooms but without kitchenettes are generally not considered dwelling units because they lack permanent provisions for cooking. As such, the bedrooms in these units are not required to have AFCI protection. It's important to note that AFCI breakers are generally required in all bedrooms of dwelling units, including those in hotels and motels, where those units meet the definition of a dwelling unit. However, kitchens and bathrooms typically do not require AFCI protection. It is important to distinguish between bedrooms and common rooms, as AFCI requirements are specific to bedrooms within dwelling units. Common rooms are rooms that are used by multiple occupants and are not considered bedrooms. To clarify the application of AFCI requirements, it is essential to understand the definition of a dwelling unit according to the National Electrical Code, or NEC. A dwelling unit is defined as a single unit providing complete and independent living facilities for one or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, cooking, and sanitation. If a hotel or motel unit has permanent provisions for all of these, it is considered a dwelling unit. If the hotel or motel unit lacks permanent cooking facilities, such as a kitchenette, it is not considered a dwelling unit. The specific requirements for AFCI protection are outlined in the NEC. These requirements have evolved over time, with newer editions of the NEC expanding the areas where AFCI protection is required. For example, the 2020 National Electrical Code, Section 210.12. A states that all 120 volts, single-phase, 15 and 20 amps branch circuits supplying outlets or devices installed in dwelling units, kitchens, family rooms, dining rooms, living rooms, parlors, libraries, dens, bedrooms, sunrooms, recreation rooms, closets, hallways, laundry areas, or similar rooms or areas must be protected by AFCI protection. The NEC also specifies that AFCI protection can be provided by either a combination AFCI breaker or an outlet branch circuit AFCI receptacle. A combination AFCI breaker provides protection against both arc faults and overload or short circuit conditions, while an outlet branch circuit AFCI receptacle provides protection only against arc faults. It is important to consult the most recent edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes to determine the specific AFCI requirements for a particular installation. Local jurisdictions may have amendments or additions to the NEC that must be followed. To ensure compliance with AFCI requirements, it is recommended to consult with a qualified electrical contractor or electrical inspector. They can assess the specific characteristics of the hotel or motel units and determine the appropriate AFCI protection needed. In summary, the requirement for AFCI breakers in hotel or motel units depends on whether the units are classified as dwelling units based on the presence of permanent cooking facilities. Units with kitchenettes are considered dwelling units, and their bedrooms require AFCI protection, while units without kitchenettes are not considered dwelling units, and their bedrooms do not require AFCI protection. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local codes for specific requirements and consult with a qualified professional for guidance. Firstly, you must determine if the unit is a dwelling unit. Secondly, check the specific requirements for AFCI protection in the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and any applicable local codes. Thirdly, consult with a qualified electrical contractor or electrical inspector. AFCI breakers are designed to detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical conditions that can cause fires. Arc faults can occur when electrical current jumps between conductors or to ground, creating heat that can ignite nearby materials. AFCI breakers work by monitoring the electrical current flowing through a circuit and detecting the unique characteristics of arc faults. When an arc fault is detected, the AFCI breaker trips, interrupting the flow of electricity and preventing a fire. There are two main types of AFCI breakers: combination AFCI breakers and branch or feeder AFCI breakers. Combination AFCI breakers provide protection against both parallel arc faults and series arc faults, as well as overload and short-circuit conditions. Branch or feeder AFCI breakers provide protection against parallel arc faults and overload and short-circuit conditions, but not against series arc faults. Parallel arc faults occur when electrical current jumps between two conductors that are supposed to be insulated from each other, such as a hot wire and a neutral wire. Series arc faults occur when there is a break or loose connection in a single conductor, such as a broken wire or a loose screw terminal. AFCI breakers are required in many areas of residential buildings, including bedrooms, living rooms, dining rooms, family rooms, and hallways. They are also required in some areas of commercial buildings, such as hotel and motel rooms that are considered dwelling units. The specific requirements for AFCI protection vary depending on the addition of the NEC and any applicable local codes. It is important to consult the latest codes and regulations to determine the specific AFCI requirements for a particular installation. When installing AFCI breakers, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. AFCI breakers are more sensitive than standard circuit breakers, and they may trip more frequently if they are not installed correctly. It is also important to test AFCI breakers regularly to ensure that they are working properly. Most AFCI breakers have a test button that can be used to simulate an arc fault and verify that the breaker trips. If an AFCI breaker trips frequently, it may indicate a problem with the electrical wiring or appliances in the circuit. In this case, it is important to consult with a qualified electrician to diagnose and repair the problem. In addition to AFCI breakers, there are other types of arc fault protection devices available, such as arc fault circuit interrupter receptacles, or AFCIs. AFCIs are similar to AFCI breakers, but they are installed at the outlet or receptacle instead of at the circuit breaker panel. AFCIs can provide additional protection against arc faults in specific locations, such as near appliances or power cords. When selecting AFCI breakers or AFCIs, it is important to choose devices that are listed and labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, ALL. Listed and labeled devices have been tested to meet safety standards and are more likely to perform as intended. In summary, AFCI breakers are an important safety device that can help to prevent electrical fires. They are required in many areas of residential and commercial buildings, and it is important to install and maintain them properly. If you have any questions about AFCI breakers or other electrical safety issues, consult with a qualified electrician. To reiterate, the main point is that the presence of a kitchenette, which provides permanent cooking provisions, is the determining factor in classifying a hotel or motel unit as a dwelling unit, thus triggering the AFCI requirements for bedrooms. Without the kitchenette, the unit is not considered a dwelling unit, and AFCI protection is not required for the bedrooms. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, defines a dwelling unit as a single unit providing complete and independent living facilities for one or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, cooking, and sanitation. This definition is crucial in determining whether a hotel or motel unit falls under the AFCI requirements for dwelling units. Keep in mind that local codes and regulations may have additional requirements or modifications to the NEC, so it is essential to consult with local authorities or a qualified electrician to ensure compliance. The information provided here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when dealing with electrical installations. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay current with the latest edition to ensure compliance with the most recent requirements. In addition to the specific requirements for AFCI protection in dwelling units, the NEC also includes general requirements for electrical safety in all types of buildings, including hotels and motels. These requirements cover a wide range of topics such as wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and equipment installation. It is important to comply with all applicable NEC requirements to ensure the safety of occupants and prevent electrical hazards. When performing electrical work in a hotel or motel, it is important to take precautions to protect guests and employees. This includes providing adequate lighting, using barriers to prevent access to work areas, and minimizing noise and disruption. It is also important to communicate with hotel or motel management to coordinate work schedules and minimize any inconvenience to guests. If you are not a qualified electrician, do not attempt to perform electrical work. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to have the necessary training and experience to do it safely. Contact a qualified electrician to perform any electrical work in your home or business. Remember, safety is always the top priority when dealing with electricity. Take the necessary precautions to protect yourself and others from electrical hazards. If you have any doubts or concerns, consult with a qualified electrician. The AFCI breaker functions to detect and interrupt arc faults, which are unintentional electrical discharges characterized by current flowing through an unintended path. These faults can generate intense heat, posing a significant fire hazard. The device differentiates between normal arcing, such as that produced by switches or motors, and dangerous arc faults. It employs sophisticated electronics to analyze the waveform of the electrical current, looking for patterns indicative of an arc fault. When a dangerous arc fault is detected, the AFCI breaker trips, cutting off the power to the affected circuit. This interruption happens very quickly, typically within milliseconds, preventing the arc fault from escalating into a fire. The technology behind AFCI breakers is constantly evolving, with new models offering improved accuracy and reduced nuisance tripping. Nuisance tripping refers to the unintentional tripping of the breaker due to normal electrical activity, which can be a common complaint with earlier AFCI models. Modern AFCI breakers incorporate advanced algorithms to better distinguish between harmless arcing and dangerous arc faults, minimizing the occurrence of nuisance trips. The installation of AFCI breakers is generally similar to that of standard circuit breakers. However, it is crucial to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully and to ensure that the wiring is properly connected. Incorrect wiring can prevent the AFCI breaker from functioning correctly and may even create a safety hazard. After installation, AFCI breakers should be tested regularly to verify that they are working properly. Most AFCI breakers have a test button that, when pressed, simulates an arc fault and causes the breaker to trip. This test should be performed at least once a month to ensure that the AFCI breaker is providing adequate protection. If an AFCI breaker fails to trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. While AFCI breakers provide a significant level of protection against electrical fires, they are not foolproof. They cannot prevent all types of electrical fires, and they do not protect against other hazards, such as electrical shock. It is important to maintain electrical systems properly and to follow all safety guidelines to minimize the risk of electrical fires and other hazards. This includes regularly inspecting electrical cords and appliances for damage, avoiding overloading electrical circuits, and using surge protectors to protect electronic equipment from power surges. In addition to AFCI breakers, ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are another important type of electrical safety device. GFCIs protect against electrical shock by detecting ground faults, which occur when electrical current flows through an unintended path to ground. GFCIs are typically required in wet locations, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. Both AFCI breakers and GFCIs play a crucial role in preventing electrical injuries and fires. They should be installed and maintained properly to ensure the safety of occupants. AFCI technology continues to evolve, with ongoing research and development aimed at improving its performance and reliability. Future advancements may include more sophisticated arc fault detection algorithms, improved nuisance trip immunity, and integration with smart home systems. As electrical systems become more complex and interconnected, the need for advanced arc fault protection will only increase. AFCI breakers are an essential component of modern electrical safety systems, helping to protect homes and businesses from the devastating effects of electrical fires. Remember that all these safety measures are there to protect people and properties, and taking electrical issues seriously goes a long way to ensuring that